There are lots of different ways that we can lose control. We need to endure the pressure of others seizing our control to find our true purpose. Through the loss of ego, you can find yourself. You can find a deeper purpose and the reason as to why you are here. To be able to reflect and make a positive change in whichever situation you may be. What are some practical steps that you can take to regain control? Maybe you've been taken advantage of for far too long, so always listen to what comes from within. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Nash Raw, where I talk to the camera without any preconceived idea of what I'm going to say, nor a script, just one flow of continuous consciousness flowing through me. And today I would like to talk about the loss of control. Has there been a moment in your life or a particular era where you lost control? Perhaps this could have been through anger, or this could have been through a situation where someone else seized your control and no longer did you have the freedom to choose which steps to take next. There are lots of different ways that we can lose control. And I'll start with a personal experience. Throughout my 20s, I lost control of my direction. I lost control of the direction I knew I should wholeheartedly be following. Through bad habits, it was easy for me to lose that direction, to go down other paths that weren't necessarily my highest path at that particular moment. Now, I realize that all these alternate routes ultimately lead to our highest goal. We need to go through the suffering. We need to endure the pressure of others seizing our control to find our true purpose, the deeper meaning to what it is to be, and the deeper meaning of self, however that may look to you. So, one particular framework, well, three frameworks that I particularly enjoy in the journey to finding your why, your purpose, are the combinations of neuroscience, psychoanalytics, and logotherapy. Let's start with logotherapy. Logotherapy was devised by Viktor Frankl, a survivor of Auschwitz and the gas chambers. When he lost everything, he was stripped down to absolutely nothing, sitting in a cell, enduring the worst of suffering that most humans had endured throughout history. Viktor Frankl found freedom. And logotherapy is one way of describing this particular type of freedom, your purpose. Through suffering, through the loss of self, through the loss of ego, I should say, you can find yourself. You can find a deeper purpose and the reason as to why you are here. How does this link to psychoanalytics and neuroscience? Well, psychoanalytics is the ability to reflect upon oneself. And based on logotherapy, your why, when everything is stripped down, when you have to work through your suffering, you are forced to reflect upon yourself, your decisions. You suddenly need to have the control of your own psyche, of your own mind, to be able to reflect and make a positive change in whichever situation you may be. Now, obviously, Viktor Frankl was in the most extreme of situations, but this doesn't mean that in our own journeys, we don't endure suffering and need to find a way through this suffering rather than constantly going around it. You may be pushed to breaking point. You may have to go through heartbreak to be able to re-seize, to be able to recapture this control of mind and peace in your life. Now, how does logotherapy and psychoanalytics now reflect and find connection with neuroscience? Well, neuroscience, one of the aspects of that is neuroplasticity. And when you work your way through suffering and you find yourself on the upper hand, if you find your way through suffering in a positive manner, then you are recreating new neurolinks within your brain. And as you start creating new neurolinks, the older ones begin to disintegrate. So the combination of these three frameworks, you can quite literally change how you control your own life, your mind, and the outcomes of situations that happen around you. Essentially, this is accountability. And accountability could be looked at like this: the ability to take account, the ability to take a positive account upon each asset of your life. This could be your emotional bank account, how you project yourself to the world emotionally. This could reflect on your bank account even. Your bank account being the value that you put out into the world, and how you manage to hold on or spend your money in a way that creates freedom. Now, obviously, when it comes to money, we do get heavily taxed, especially here in Australia. So the government does have some major control over where our money goes. But just like from the text of Richest Man in Babylon, a portion of what you earn is yours to keep. And by following this particular idea around money, you can grow. You can see compound interest over time. And this is no different to your emotions. See, actors remember the traumatic and sad moments in their life so that they can bring up the emotion when they need during a scene. This isn't any different to remembering a happy moment, to remembering a peaceful moment, and bringing that back to the surface when it's required. So, accountability, your ability to hold account upon your emotions and all the other situations that these emotions lead you through in life. And again, this reflects back to the three frameworks of logotherapy, psychoanalytics, and neuroscience. So, what are some practical steps that you can take to regain control? First of all, let's look at psychoanalytics. Through the lens of psychoanalytics, for you to regain control, you must reflect on which portions of your unconscious and conscious are being controlled by others. And by taking the right steps in regaining that control, you'll ultimately push those away that aren't influencing your life in a particularly positive way. This may be reflecting upon the outcome of a particular job that you're in. Maybe you've been taken advantage of for far too long. You've had loved ones tell you that it's time for you to move on. You may want to try and persevere. You may see a higher goal attached to this particular situation that loved ones are trying to guide you through in a positive way. They may not be able to see. They may not be able to understand what it is you're doing. From the outside, it may look like a loss of control. So always listen to what comes from within. And if others don't understand, help them. From Stephen R. Covey's book, 7 Habits of the Highly Effective Person, seek first to understand and then be understood. Understand where these projections are coming from the loved one. Perhaps it comes from a place of them feeling scared that you're jumping out into the unknown, that you're putting yourself in a position which may seem like a loss of control, but in reality is a step closer toward your highest path. Building business, for example, doesn't happen overnight. I mean, for some, it may. But it's a journey. And if you've gone into partnership with someone and it seems from the outside that you are being taken control of, then try and help those that see it that way understand that this is coming from a place of your understanding of where the right direction is. And the right direction for you at this particular moment may be to follow through, to see this particular project through to the end. It doesn't need to be forever. And it's always healthy to put a time stamp on this, to put a deadline on the particular projects. Because if you don't put a deadline on the particular projects that you feel that you may be losing control over, you will continue to go down that path. Years later, you found yourself at a loss of freedom, a loss of control. So be very conscious. Again, use psychoanalytics, reflect upon where and what aspects of your life you have lost control. How can you regain that control? Another way to regain this control is through healthy habits. We must remember that mental clarity, mental health, is downstream from physical health. So by putting yourself through healthy movement, by treating your body in a way that can fruitfully fill your mind, is an essential. If you keep disregarding the need to be healthy and to embrace well-being, you will undoubtedly fall into a deep depression or suffer anxiety. Not to mention all of the other defects that humans go through when they begin mistreating their bodies. Not too far down from physical health is the mental health, as I said, and this does bring up accountability once again. If you think people are there to control you, remember that you have put yourself into this position. You have chosen to take the steps and to act the way you have, and this is inevitably brought upon these emotions from others. You are not there to control others. You are there to hold accountability for yourself and your own actions, to be proactive in taking the right steps, the right actions, into getting you out of those situations. This may be through those habits, through the healthy habits. Waking up and going to bed at the same time every morning. It doesn't need to be early or late. Whenever fits your particular way of being. It could be 7 or 8 hours sleep for optimal brain health, and then again to make sure that you're filling your body with the nutrients that you need because you are in control. You are the one that makes the right choices to live the most healthy, and fruitful life. So remember, have accountability for your own actions, for your proactive actions. Have accountability to make sure that you will reflect upon your own actions, and inevitably this will reflect on the actions of others and their projections toward you. Listen to others. When they, especially a loved one, when they have concern for what it is you're doing, try and help them understand why it is you're doing this. If this brings up a defensive thought pattern within your own mind, and you can't clearly explain to them why it is you're doing this, perhaps you're not doing the right thing. Perhaps you have lost control. And through this loss of control, you are losing yourself, your truest and most authentic self. We're all walking a path. We're all on the pathway to a higher self. But once you allow someone to tell you, to dictate where it is you're going, you will notice that the path becomes foggy. You may find yourself in a ditch that is much harder to climb out of, rather than not falling into it in the first place, of course. If you are interested, look more into psychoanalytics, logotherapy, and neuroscience. These three frameworks truly do help with how you can reflect upon yourself and trying to find your purpose in life and living a healthy life to achieve that why, to achieve that purpose. They are the whys and the hows in living the most fruitful life that you can possibly live. Now, of course, I haven't touched on spirituality or religion, but belief systems and devotion to achieving a higher self, with these as the backbone, is also a great way to make sure that you're walking along the highest path that you possibly can. So on that note, we're going to take 3 deep breaths and reflect upon this conversation today. Exhale. Inhale. May we trust that we have the capabilities to reflect upon our own psyche and the situations that we live in right now. Exhale. Inhale. Once we have found peace in the reflection, to live out the proactive actions that we must take in order to begin walking that highest path. Exhale. Inhale. Once we are walking that highest path, know that distractions will constantly be there, that the struggle and suffering of life will never end. So finding peace where we can to help ourselves and others is always the most righteous way to live. Exhale. Oh, well, thank you all for joining me once again. I'm currently in the ACT. It's been quite chilly out here today, and this spot here with this incredible landscape behind me was the spot of choice for today's YouTube video, even if that means the sun is blaring into my face. But this is something that's been on my mind throughout the week, because we all ultimately want to be walking our highest path and toward a purpose that is fulfilling to not just us, but reflective upon everyone else that we come by. Those that we do cross, the paths that we cross of others, they are but mirrors of ourselves. So when you are listening to yourself, when you're reflecting on the habits that aren't necessarily filling your life in a wholesome way, you're going to attract that. Authenticity is magnetism. But being authentic doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be healthy. Your authentic self at the moment may not be the healthiest self, so reflect upon that. Figure out where you've lost control. Figure out where you can be more accountable. These are all self-reflections, and it's not really anything that another can tell you to do. Everyone's path is different, and therapy can help in particular ways, but it's up to you. Read the right books, digest the right information, and you'll find a way out of a tough situation all the time. Just remember, it starts with your perception on the world, metacognition, the lens through which you see the world. Anyway, I'm going to get some food. I'm quite hungry. Thank you once again for joining me here today on Pat Nash Raw. Get out there, go play safe in the world, be kind to one another, and bless you all. I truly appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Mwah.